The intersections of life span the entirety of our lives, and sometimes it's only by just looking back over our lives that some of these intersections and the meaning of them come into absolute focus for it years later. Today, I am pleased to be joined here on the Intersection set by Juanita Cuff. Now, Juanita I've known for a long time. I know her to be energetic, vibrant, forward-looking. She is a senior, but a very valued member of the St. John's Citadel community. So welcome, Juanita, to Intersections.
Hi, Derek.
So when you know somebody, as I know you, you know me, you have to really think about how we're going to get into this. And so let's start at the beginning. Let's roll the tape back and ask you to talk a little bit about your early life, where it was, what it was like for you, if church was a part of it, what impact it had, all of that stuff.
Okay, Derek. It's going to be hard to do it just as 1, 2, 3. I got quite a beginning, but I was born in Bath, Maine, United States.
My goodness.
And my dad and mom, in those years, they would go away to work. And they left Bonavista Vista and went away. And my older brother and myself were born there. But at 4 years of age, they figured they had their money made, and back to Bonavista Vista we went. They were United Church, or at least my mom was United Church. She attended. And well, I would attend with her, and sometimes on Sunday we'd have maybe 4 services in one day. But however, all my friends were Salvation Army. And I would hear them talking about getting saved and being in the barracks till midnight. Well, that sounded wonderful to me. So I had a desire to go there. Well, at 8:30 Sunday night, my mother would let me skip up the lane to the Army. And during testimony period, I would go into the Corps. Anyway, at 9 years of age, I accepted Jesus as my Savior. And I got involved in everything there, and I was so happy being part of the Salvation Army. But at 11 years of age, my world got turned upside down. My parents separated. My father left my mother, who was at the time having a nervous breakdown. He went to Toronto, and she couldn't continue to care for me. So they sent me to live with my brother in San Antonio, Texas. At that age, it was the hardest thing I think I ever did, having to leave my mom. But anyway, I lived there with them for a year. His wife and children were Roman Catholic, and I attended the Roman Catholic Church with them. But I never stopped yearning for the Army. Anyway, at maybe 6 months after, my brother got transferred to Fort Fairfield, Maine, and I went there to live. And at that time, my parents got back together, and my mom came and picked me up. And I went to Toronto to live. But where I lived, there was no Salvation Army near me, and we had no car. So anyway, I just kept saying, Lord, you got to put me somewhere where I can go to the Salvation Army. And my childhood faith got me right next door at my next move to the Salvation Army in Toronto.
Very good.
And so then I start going there, and from there on, I always served the Lord and did the best I could.
Well, I've already learned new things about somebody I've known for so long, and that's very, very interesting. But one thing that strikes me as you spoke is that of all of these varied experiences, there is a tracer going through all of that of the divine, and that is, when we commit ourselves to God, He doesn't let go of us.
No.
And so it's true for you. So bring me now, Juanita, to discovering St. John's Citadel and what that was like for you. When was it, and how long have you called the Citadel your church home? What have you been involved in here, and things like that?
Well, Laurie, my daughter, and her little girl at the time was attending St. John's Citadel, and we were still living in Bonavista. So on June, was it the 24th, I think, 1997, was the day the Matthew came into Bonavista.
Right.
But Juanita left Bonavista through all the 40,000 people and made her way to St. John's. Well, I didn't have to make up my mind what corps I was going to go. I didn't have to go shopping or anything. I had to go to the Citadel because that's where my daughter and
Right.
her child was. So anyway, I can remember the very first Sunday that I came, someone was out on the parking lot, and his name was Sergeant Major Stride. And he looked at me and he said, "I know you." And I said, "Well, I don't know you." And he said, "But I've heard a lot about you. There's lots of things to be done here in the Citadel.
Right.
So if you're willing, you're going to be used." So I made up my mind that day, I guess this is where I'm going to spend my time. I came for 6 months, and it's 25 years this June.
What are the kinds of things you've done here at the Citadel, been involved in?
Well, I led New Creations for a number of years,
Right.
and I belonged to the women's ministries. I was the welcome sergeant for 6 or 7 years,
Right.
and kettles from the Citadel.
All kinds of stuff.
Kettles from everywhere because I worked at headquarters in charge of kettles. But anyway, yes, I've enjoyed every moment.
And
at
I
the
noticed by
Citadel.
having a look at Facebook, you're still quite present in Citadel activities.
Yes.
And I saw you in an activity last weekend, I think, so that
Yes.
was great.
Yes,
Still
that was
maintaining it?
women's ministries.
It
yes.
was.
And you know, I found at the Citadel, especially in the last 2 years, that Kathy and Daryl have kept us so up to date with everything that's going on, even when we didn't have services. They were always there for us,
Yep.
and I really appreciated that.
Well, the COVID experience for all of us has been a trying one. And the inability to congregate, to worship together, has been something in all congregations that has been a real challenge for people. And there's a tendency to feel a disconnect. And it's tough to maintain that momentum and to keep people connected to each other and to what's happening in the church. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If, through their efforts and efforts of others, I think we've been well served in that respect.
I even learned how to go on Zoom.
Well done yourself. Now, you had a life partner, Harry,
Yes.
and together you had a family and you raised them. Any parent will acknowledge that there are times of absolute euphoria as a parent as you observe your children, and there are times of significant worry as they go through various phases of life and so on. How did your faith sustain you through that period of raising a family?
Well, I always believed that faith began at salvation. Now, you might say, well, what did this 9-year-old girl know about faith? But, you know, faith became part of me at that age. And just down the road from that, faith and trust became very real to me. And Harry and I raised 3 wonderful children. They all served the Lord a good part of their lives, and some are still doing it, and I'm praying for the others. But
Spoken like a true parent.
yeah, a true parent, yes. So while I was raising my children, I didn't give them a book and tell them to read all about faith. I tried to live my faith every day. I made my children realize how important it was to love everybody,
Absolutely.
to be kind to everybody.
Right.
And I think, that they noticed enough in me to follow those footsteps. And I've always wanted to be kind to others, and I wanted to always do for others, take care of others all my life. So, they must have seen this in me. So.
Well, the research that I've read about evangelism through the years verifies one major fact, and that is that we can tell people stuff, but it's lifestyle evangelism, how we live, that says, "You're something different about you. I want to know what that difference is." So it was with your children. They saw something in you, perhaps, and then were able to say, "I want to be like Mom." Well, great. Thank you very much for that. So you've been on your faith journey for a while, right? And you've seen a lot of things happen over the years. Retirement came, and you and Harry were privileged to spend a lot of winters in the warmer climate of Florida. You didn't go on a break, though, from your community of faith. Tell us about your Florida years and your involvement in there with them.
Well, we spent 10 wonderful winters in Florida. We met a wonderful friend there who knew it was very difficult for us to be able to continue our trips there. So he bought a condo for us so that we could live rent-free.
My goodness.
Now, this was such an answer to prayer for us. When we went to Florida, Harry liked the beach, but I only liked the core. So sometimes I would agree to go with him as far as, maybe just by the side of the beach and sit there in the car, but I wasn't one to sit out in the sun or anything. But my life was taken up in the core. Clearwater, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a wonderful church community. And I was accepted in a real way. I took part in everything there. I was in the songsters. They wouldn't let me in the band. And after I played in the band, you know that before in Bonavista, but I didn't get in the band. But I worked in every part of that corps, the home league and kettles and everything, and loved every minute of it. And that corps, I spoke to the officer only a few weeks ago, and she said to me, she said, "You still belong. No, you're still a soldier of the Clearwater Corps." So I'm really blessed.
Yeah, you're going to start a racket. Going to start a racket. Who shall she be, right? Well, that's wonderful.
But they were wonderful to me, and when Harry died and
Yeah.
when I had surgery,
Yeah,
I was remembered in such a great way by them.
wonderful. That's great.
So God is good.
He is. So here we are, coming to the end of our time together. But before we wrap it up, let me ask you this. There are perhaps folks listening to us today, and they may be struggling in their own faith experience. Do you have any advice for them?
Yes. First, accepting the struggles as part of your journey. Knowing that struggling, questioning, even doubting
Yes.
is all helping us along the journey. So don't give up, don't get discouraged, because these are the things that will help you more than destroy you. But you just have to keep trusting in God. Always remember that faith is not something we can learn in one lesson and get a certificate of completion. Faith is often being uncertain and trusting all at the same time. So just obey God, trust Him to lead you daily, and things will work out good for you.
Things will work out. Yeah, don't be afraid about the future, because we know who holds the future.
That's right.
Thank you, Juanita, for sharing this with us. It's been a pleasure to speak with you and learn a bit more about you than I knew before. And thank you for overcoming any intrepidation you may have had about joining me to do this, because I know it's going to do the world of good to somebody who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.